Doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning is winning. Never turn your back on family. Smoke 'em. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another spoiler-free mini movie review. I'm gonna do this one in costume this week. Gonna keep the sunglasses on too, probably. I watched Fast 10 on Friday night. This is just a quick review of that movie. I really like this series. It's always just a lot of fun seeing these Fast and Furious movies. So went opening night. Had a really good time with it. Had a good time with Fast 9 as well, or F9, whatever they were calling that one. I like this one more than I think 8 and 9. The action is definitely way over the top. Obviously, defies the laws of, like physics and logic and all that kind of stuff. Um, there were some issues I had with the movie. So I'm going to start off with just the positives first, and then we're going to go into the things that I didn't like about the movie. So the positives are that the action and the sequences are just completely over the top and completely absurd at this point. They've been absurd for quite a while. I want to say my favorite film in this series is probably Fast Five. Five is the last one that I would call, even using the word realistic. The action in Fast Five was still over the top, but more kind of grounded. I think six onward is when the action became really kind of absurd and like physically impossible. Like the stuff in Fast Five and even the other previous movies was probably impossible as well, but it was a little more grounded, I think. So Fast Five is definitely my favorite in the series. I thought six was good, seven was really good. Eight I thought was good. I didn't like it as much as the others, and then nine I didn't like as much as the others. So I think out of the more modern ones, which are to me are six forward, I think six and seven are my favorite out of those. I like six, and then six is good, really pretty good. Seven is probably the best one. In like, I divide these movies into two, like eras, I guess. Like, there's like the era where it's more about the kind of just where Dom and his crew are kind of doing stuff against. They're not working for the government at this point. So the first era is like the first five movies, and then the second half, six through this, are the ones where they are more like spies, or not necessarily spies, but they're working kind of for the government or around the government and things like that. Where there is a total shift, I think, between the first five and the last five, to where I think six onward they just became even more and more ridiculous in a good way. Because like I think these films going in, you're going to be seeing just insanely over the top action. You're going to be seeing cool fights and stuff like that. So the first positive I think is definitely it delivers in the absurdity department like you would expect a Fast and Furious movie to deliver. Second best thing about the movie, or maybe the best thing over, is Jason Momoa as the new villain in this series. He definitely chews the scenery. He's definitely like really over the top. You can definitely tell Jason Momoa is having just an incredibly fun time playing this character. So we have Jason Momoa. We have a lot of other cast members that are in this movie. I can't really state who because it might be give me spoilers. If you look to the poster to my should be on my right, is going to be give you a general idea of who is in this movie and what characters are returning. That said, that kind of leads into one of my first issues with the movie. Is there are so many characters, both new and old, that a lot of the characters that you may be more interested in may or may not get the appropriate amount of screen time. So there's some characters that have very little screen time, some characters that have like the right amount of screen time, and maybe some characters that have too much screen time. Not really sure if anybody has too much, but there were definitely characters that I felt were not utilized to their full potential. And that said, I believe Vin Diesel had just announced recently that this is now going to be. It was going to be a two-part. Like I guess it's supposed to be kind of like the finale for this general series. They're probably going to spin off other stuff, and like they've already done Hobbs and Shaw. I think Hobbs and Shaw 2 is greenlit at some point. I don't know if what production is looking like on that, or if that's even still happening. But they can spin this off in tons of different directions, different characters doing their own thing. So this is supposed to be kind of the end of like the main crew's storyline. That said, I'm kind of willing to overlook some of the characters being underutilized in this movie because again, it was supposed to be a two-part film, and I think Vin Diesel just said recently that this is actually the first part of a trilogy. So they're wrapping up this storyline with three films. So that's with that in mind, I'm a little more willing to overlook certain characters not getting enough screen time in this movie because they may get more screen time in the two follow-up films, or at least, like I said, he announced a trilogy. I don't know if that's been officially confirmed yet, but we were supposed to get two films. We're now getting three, so hopefully those characters that were in this movie that didn't get a whole lot of screen time will get more in those subsequent films. That said, another negative with the film for me was there were, I think, too many plot lines happening at the exact same time, and the action was spread across, I want to say, like four groups of characters. I'm not going to specify who those characters were or what they were doing, but there is like one group of characters doing one thing, another group of characters doing something else, another group of characters doing something unrelated to that or connected to it somehow, and then another group of characters doing their own thing. So at some point, you're jumping around in the film quite a bit because you're following one group, then you're following another, then you're following another, and then you're following another. I think there was at least, at the very least, four different groups of characters doing their own thing. And again, that might just be there to kind of set up the next two movies. So that to me was kind of a negative just because it was jumping from plot point to plot point to plot point to plot point. But again, it may be setting up stuff for the future movies. Um, like I said, so those my positives in this movie are the action is what you expect. It's completely over the top and just absurd. But like I said, I think that is a positive. The other positive for me was Jason Momoa's performance as the villain in this film. And then we have two negatives. One being I think almost too many characters or characters that were underutilized, and then second, too many kind of concurrent plot points happening at the exact same time. I enjoyed the film. It's directed by a different director. I believe the director for this one, let me bring up his name here, is, I'm not sure if it's Louis or Louis. He's a French director. Louis or Louis, let me see. Let me see if I can pronounce this correctly. Leterrier, yeah, Louis Leterrier or Louis Leterrier. Again, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that name correctly. Justin Lin was working on this project initially. He's in the credits as being like a writer and maybe like a producer or something like that. But I just wonder if some of the stuff that I didn't like about the movie was because of his stepping back from directing the film. So it's directed by this other director. Justin Lin is still, I believe, was still involved in this movie. I don't know about his involvement in the other films, but that could be an issue because I believe all of the best films are probably the ones that he's directed. And I think he directed, I want to say everything. He didn't direct everything. I think he directed, I think like 5 and 6, and I think 7 may have been directed by somebody else because he was working on. One of them was not directed by him because he was working because he had a lot of they had production going on for two of the movies at the exact same time. But that said, again, I had a lot of fun at the movie at this movie. So whenever I go to a movie, my first kind of metric on if I like the movie is it just one, is it entertaining? Was I entertained? Was the 2 hours I spent in the theater, or more than that, more than 2 hours generally considering previews, was it worthwhile? In this movie, it was definitely worthwhile. With that said, I am going to give this my final score here. Final score for Fast 10 is going to be a 7.5 out of 10. I'm hoping the next two films kind of clean up some of the issues that I had with this film. Again, with characters that had little to no, very little screen time, to the concurrent plot points. Hopefully, they can kind of wrap those together. And I think based on how the other two movies play, that may change my score for this one. A lot of people are kind of, I guess, alluding to or kind of comparing it to Avengers Infinity War, where you have the setup in Infinity War and then the payoff in Endgame. So if that is the case, and that may affect this score kind of in the future. But that's going to do it for now. Again, I'm going to be doing these movie reviews periodically. They're probably going to be coming up on Mondays when the other series aren't going on. Again, that's going to do it for now. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. We'll see you again next time. Thanks again for watching. Take care. Have a good one.